at the lies that follow you when you run and hide. Look at the sky, the sun won't ask, the sun won't ask the world if it can rise. Look at the sky, the sun won't ask the world if it can rise. Look at your mind and ask yourself what keeps you trapped inside. Look at the lies that follow you when you run and hide. Look at the sky, the sun won't ask, 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 the sun won't ask the world if it can rise.
Hello everyone, I'm Connor and this is the Fowler Hour. On this week's episode we're going to be talking about social media, where to start, how to grow a great following, how to keep your audience engaged, and all of my top tips. Hey everyone, so it's been a week. I hope you all had a lovely week. It has been miserable here. And we're going to talk today. I heard quite a lot of requests about my top tips for social media and where to start, how to get an engaged audience, and basically trying to help you guys work out what you might be doing wrong or what you could be doing differently. Now, I'm going to be taking questions from the audience today as well, but I do have a kind of plan of what to talk about, and we're going to be on from now until 9 PM, so it's going to be about an hour. So yeah, I hope you've all had a great week. We're going to start off just saying hello to everyone on YouTube. So, here we go. What we're going to start with is we're going to start talking about Instagram. Now, Instagram is one of the fastest growing platforms available for social media and social networking at the moment. Started quite a few years ago now, and since that point, obviously it's been acquired by Facebook, the whole algorithms have changed, the way people view content has changed. Now I'm going to be talking quite specifically about Instagram and its uses in the design community over the next hour, and how you can showcase your work, not just to other designers, but also to potential clients. This topic was suggested by a couple of people. J.R. Ingram is watching, I believe, right now, so he's also going to be hopefully getting some pen and paper out and watching all of this. And hello to everyone joining us on Instagram as well as YouTube today. So the first steps that I would suggest for Instagram is I get quite a few messages going, oh Connor, I'm not sure what to do with my account, I'm not sure how to push my style and my branding and my designs. It seems like I'm feeling a little bit underappreciated right now. Now, I'm going to say that to start with, you're going to feel like that. You're going to feel that No one is seeing your work. You're going to be seeing other people getting thousands upon thousands of likes or hundreds of likes on their posts, and you're getting 6. And 5 of those are your mates. Now, that's where I started as well. My Instagram account didn't just pop out of nowhere, and it seems that there's quite a big misconception about how you can grow your account. Hello everyone in the Instagram chat. If you have any questions about social media and growing your following, particularly if you're a designer, please put it in the chat and I will pick it up as and when I see it. So there's a big misconception about people just kind of popping up out of nowhere, and just because you're seeing someone's account for the first time doesn't mean they've not been working at it for a long time. I have been working my Instagram account for probably about 2 years now, and yeah, it's probably about 2 years, almost to the month probably by this point. And I started off by kind of posting irregular content. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to post, and it was kind of a mismatch of just random things, from designs to photos of the field and my dog, and it wasn't really portraying what I wanted to show the world in terms of my design. Now, things like dogs and your cute niece, for instance, might do pretty well on Instagram, but they don't actually showcase yourself. They don't promote your brand. You're using someone else to push your brand. Now, that's quite apparent with things you might see on YouTube of parents who have children who do toy unboxings. The kids just get to open things. Like, it doesn't actually build the parent's brand at all. It doesn't make their personal brand and their personal business bigger. It just shows off someone else. So you need to firstly stop doing that. If you want to promote your design work, if this is your business account, if you want to, you've just got to be consistent with it. So, what I'm suggesting by that is, just because your photos of the beach get 150 likes and your design ones get 6, you should stop posting the beach ones if your business is design. If your business is you're a photographer and you dabble in graphic design, then that's fine. But if you, as a photographer, or a comedian or something like that, I would only ever suggest posting content that reflects your brand. You're not going to be, if you're, for instance, a lawyer, you're not going to post a photo or a short video of you making cookies, because it will just throw your audience off. It'll make you feel to them that you don't have their interests in mind as well. Obviously, they've come to see your work, but you need to be aware of your audience. So if you're not aware of your audience and you're posting random content that doesn't match your brand image, they're just going to unfollow you. And if you do it constantly, they're just going to unfollow you, and you will get followers who don't fit into the target that you're aiming for. I would suggest posting every day, but I understand a lot of you are busy and a lot of you have other things and other jobs. I mean, probably 30 or 40% of my job right now is social media, alongside my graphic design stuff. And it's just me. It's just me pushing this. It's just me scheduling posts. It's just me doing this podcast right now. And what I would talk about is making sure that you are at least consistent. You don't have to post every single day. I don't. If you look at me and my kind of month, my posts for the last month, I haven't posted every single day. It's almost been every single day, but occasionally, if I'm swamped with work or I'm not quite happy with the post that I've made, I just won't post it. And that tends to be on days that have pretty low engagement ranks anyway, which are Mondays and Fridays or Saturdays usually. And that's just because of people's lives, and that's how they interact. Right, excellent. So we've talked about consistency, and the reason consistency is good, what you need to do with being consistent with your work is, if you keep to the same schedule, whether that's every day, every 3 days, every 4 days, as long as you are consistent with that, people will become aware of your schedule and your routine, and they will also follow you for that. Okay, that could be once a week you post a full case study or a full set of branding icons, because that's what they'll come to you for. They'll come to you for a specific set of content that is consistent. If you're jumping around all the time, you're just going to lose followers. Now, kind of going back to my account, until 2 months ago, I was actually losing followers on quite a rapid basis, and my account was very stagnant. Now, there were a few reasons for this, and it was that the content I was posting, although I thought it was really good, was a bit stale for the community and for what actually was kind of on trend. And also making sure that I posted regularly, because I was only posting twice a week more often than not, 2 to 3 times a week. I wasn't actually hitting the targets. I wasn't engaging enough with my audience and with the community to hit those, like, to become familiar, to become part of the ecosystem. I was kind of just here and there. And when that happens, people will come and see your content, but it won't be a continuous flow of work and of posts coming through and of engagement coming back. So the next point from here is the moving on from being consistent, just because you've got to make sure your work is on brand. So, for instance, we have the lovely JR Ingram watching, I believe, and he posts little tiny designs over the back of a gorgeous photo. Now, his stuff is very different to what is being posted in the large portion of the community right now, and I think he's got a really interesting idea, and I really like what he's doing with it. But in my personal opinion, there are things that he could do to improve that. And I'm sure there are many things that everyone watching right now could do to improve. I'm not saying I'm the best by any means. I've got 9,500 followers. I don't have millions and millions and millions and millions of followers. But my account, I feel the engagement on my account has gone up tenfold. So I've got you guys in the chat watching and listening right now. I've got 10 plus comments on my photos, which shows people are engaged and they're leaving feedback, or they're saying they think it's cool, which means that other people are going to see it because of that. And we'll go into the algorithm and how things rank in a second. But going back to, just because you're doing something different doesn't mean you should stop. But you have to be consistent with what you're doing. You can't just drop in a picture of your pug every 10th photo. Doesn't work like that. And unfortunately, the followers you might gain from posting that photo, regardless of how good the engagement is, will not engage with your main core content, which is kind of a back and forth. And basically that's how my Instagram account started. I stopped doing that, and then it became stale because I didn't innovate. It didn't change, it didn't grow, it just kind of plateaued at the same thing. So at 5,500 followers, I was there in basically a 10 follower window for about 3 months. I was just sat kind of looking at my phone going, what am I doing wrong? Like, my content is getting better and better, but clearly the way I'm doing it is not working at all. People aren't engaging with it at all. Just gonna take a drink. What I would do... Oh, thank you, Peacemakers. Really appreciate it. So yeah, first 2 points. Be consistent with what you're posting. Second one, be consistent with when you're posting. And the next one we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about when to post. Now, you can go across the internet and you can find studies, you can find infographics that people have put together based on data that I don't know where it's been sourced from more often than not, of when people most engage with Instagram posts. And now this will vary depending on where you live, what time zone you're in, etc, etc. And you can change when you post to target different time zones. So for instance, if you work in Australia, but you want to work with an American audience, or if I in the UK want to work with an American audience and show my work to them, I will post at a time that I know they will also be looking at it. So often I will post at between 4 and 5 p.m. UK time, which if you're on the East Coast is about midday 1 o'clock. Often people are having their lunch then, so they're on Instagram having a flick through. Or if you're looking at Pacific time, so West Coast states, they are about 8 hours behind the UK, which means it's about about 4. It's about 8 a.m., 8 to 9 a.m. So people are on the way to work, getting ready for work. They wake up, open their phone, and have a look to see what's new. And you can do that with wherever you live, whether you live in the Philippines, or you live in Australia, or you live in Japan. So you can target those audiences depending on where you are looking to get followers from and potentially work from. Now, often I've got a couple of infographics in front of me right now, and they say kind of what days you should post and what days get higher engagement. Now, with engagement on your post, again, you have to tailor it to your audience, and if you can, your Instagram insights on your personal profile will show you what days your audience are on mostly. Now, I've found over the last couple of months where I've gained quite a lot of followers that it can't keep up because it needs quite a lot of data over a period of months. So I'm kind of just going off intuition right now. But you can probably, if you're wanting to build your account, you can probably go set your Instagram profile up as a business platform. All that it does, doesn't charge you, doesn't do anything. All it does is gives you a set of insights and analytics that you can use to improve your posts and when to post and what to post. Because you're able to see the engagement and the reach and the comment numbers for every single post you've done in the last, I think, 6 months. Maybe it might even go up to a year. Thank you, Top Shelf Guy. Yeah, I'm excited to see who does well in the DC logo challenge. I've definitely seen a whole bunch of designs in the last couple of weeks that are hands down excellent and I think deserve to win, but we'll see. We've got 3 days to go. But yeah, so back onto track. So working about what days to post. As I said a couple of minutes ago, it is quite well known that people on a Friday night or a Saturday night go out. People do social things. It's the end of the week. They've just worked their 9 to 5 or whatever job they have. Most people work Monday through Friday, and then they get the weekend off. So they'll go out Friday and Saturday night. So often, if you're posting in the evenings which is the best time in the UK to post, you will get hardly any engagement because you're not all those people in your vicinity, in your own area in Europe, don't see it because they're all out doing something else. And this is quite apparent with people who, if I'm in the UK and mainland Europe is the hour ahead, if I post at 4 o'clock, it's technically 5 p.m. for them, they're already eating dinner, so they're not on their phones right now, and then they're going out. So I tend not to post on a Saturday night usually, purely because Saturday night is generally when I also have my downtime, the little of it that I get. That's when I pick and like make sure I get some downtime usually, and also because everyone goes out and people aren't on their phones checking Instagram. Now this also applies to Monday. So basically if you're looking at a week, the days that I kind of X out to say I'm not really sure whether posting today is going to be any good or I'll try new things on these days, is Saturdays and Mondays. Mondays because people go to work and they're getting up early, they're getting up kind of grumpy maybe to go to work. It's, I've just had a really good weekend, I don't really want to go back to work, and they're sluggish and they don't really want to engage with anything, and they might see your post but they're like, I don't care. Yeah, it's kind of a throwaway day, whereas Saturday people are busy, Friday, Saturday people are busy, Monday is kind of a throwaway day. Now that doesn't apply to everyone. In some cultures, I know their days and weeks start on different days. So I had a guy message me the other week to say, glad you're having a nice day off on Sunday, because I was posting about what I was doing. Our week starts today. And I personally don't know where he's from, but there is potential there that depending on who you're aiming at, again, this all comes back to your target audience. Who you're aiming your posts at, you might need to post bigger content on different days. Just going to take a moment here, say hello everyone. This is the Fowler Hour. It's my little design podcast that I'm doing. It's live on Instagram and on YouTube right now. If you want higher quality audio and video, you can just search C Fowler Design or the Fowler Hour and it should come up in YouTube. And also, if you have any questions regarding how to get started on social media as a graphic designer or tips for growing your following, please put your question in the chat and I will get to it as soon as I can. YouTube, that goes for you as well. We've got how many people in here right now? We've got a couple of people in there watching. So yeah, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in. So things we've covered right now so far have been, just do a little recap, we've covered making sure that your posts are consistent. If you stick to a certain style or a developing style, but it is logos or it is case studies or it is leaflets or something like that, if you are consistent, people will grow to understand that your content is a certain type of content and they will come to you for that. Secondly, be consistent when you post. Try and post every day if you can. Post something every day if you can. I mix it up. I use sketches and fully finished designs in grid form, and I also use different days to promote and post completed design work and logo lockups and things like that to show lots of different variation. But the hardest thing is being consistent. So rather than just rushing things out, you might be better every day. You might be better dialing it back and doing it 3 to 4 times a week. And then we're also talking, and then the next that's at 2, and then we're going to talk about the third one, which is what days to post. Now, I personally found that Monday, Friday, and Saturday aren't great to post. They tend to be the lower engagement days of the week. So I tend not to post then, or I tend to post new styles of content. If I want to try something out, I will do it on one of those days because I know that if it does well, I know what that target number is. I know what kind of on average that kind of lower day, that lower engagement day will do. So if it hits higher than that, I know that this type of post that I've done has been effective. So going to talk next about we're going to talk a bit more about what days to post on and what kind of content we can put out on different days. Because if you show, when you're doing consistent posting and you're posting the same style of content or the same set of styles, so for me personally, I post sketches from my sketchbook, I will post grids, and then I will also post final completed designs, usually in that order. So it shows development, it shows a process, it shows a story that people follow along with, which is quite important because they are coming to you not just for your posts, but they need to have a connection. They need to kind of flow in, and they need to kind of flow in one direction as a story. And you need to be representing that brand. And so people can come to you specifically for your style. They can go, oh, I know that such and such a person does really good tiny icons. I know that such and such a person does really cool animal logos. So you can seek that kind of thing out, and then you know that that person does the style that you enjoy. And reverse engineering that, by keeping your style consistent, you will attract those people. So with days of the week and the way I post in a continuous development cycle. So I will post the new thing that I'm working on usually, or an old idea, and then I will develop it into the next step, which is creating the grid process for it, and then the next step, posting the final design. Now, everyone's going to be different. If you just want to post final designs and completed logos, why not post those along with other content? Why not post them with an application? So day 1, you post your logo. Let's say it's a flower. Day 2, you could post it on a business card with a little bit of a logo lockup. And then 3, you could do it on some packaging. So you can show the growth and the story behind what you've made, which I think is really, really important. Yeah, guys, if you've got any questions, I think it's like 10, 15 people in here right now watching, which is great. If you have any questions about social media and how you can improve specifically, I'm more than happy to go and look up your account and give you some tips about what I think you could do to improve and how I think the things I'm talking about could benefit your account. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, let me know. Hello to everyone watching on YouTube and Instagram. But yeah, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was hashtags. I'm going to break this down completely. So we've gone consistency of style, consistency of days, consistency of how many times a week you post, which days you post on, timings, hello logo guide, and also we've just spoken about how to show your process, how to show your development. People are always interested in seeing how you grow and how your process is done. They also just want to look at the way you make things and learn from it. So, the next thing I want to talk about is hashtags. Hashtags are very important. Instagram basically gives you, I think it's up to 28 to 30 words that you can be used to discovered for. Now, these are even better. The search algorithms on Instagram and using hashtags on Twitter and things like that are better than Google for specific content. If you want to be discovered by specific people with almost next to no effort, you use hashtags and you use as many as you can that are targeted. Sorry, I'm reading a comment. Oh yeah, speaking Ayubami, excuse me if I completely butchered your name. If you're not happy with a particular post you put out, if you don't like it, but it's done well in engagement, I do this quite a lot. Well, not quite a lot at all, but occasionally I'll put something out and then I'll look at it 2 or 3 days later and be like, actually, I don't really think I like that. It's better to leave it because for the first week that content is still fairly fresh, and because if you've got high engagement with that post, it will continue to appear in people's feeds for multiple days. So it's better to leave it, and then if you're really unhappy with it, just archive it. Don't delete it. There's a whole new button now for archiving, which basically makes the post private so no one else can see it, and that is what I would suggest you do. But ultimately, if you're not happy with the post, I would suggest not posting it in the first place. You're better off taking the time and making something better. Okay. Right. Just going to take a quick jump back before we talk about hashtags again to answer Mickey's question, which is, I started posting logo grids and construction lines, I assume. Do you think it's better to continue like that, or do sketch, grid, and final, or try to find some other order? I would suggest you do what you want to do. I mean, if you're consistent with it, that's how you'll build your brand. You can't just expect your content to just take off just because you try a certain style. You have to be consistent with it. You can't just post one thing and expect to suddenly get 250 followers from one post, because that's not how it works. You have to be consistent with it. So showing your process is excellent. Showing a grid, a sketch, a grid, and a final, that shows process. And you can do that, and as I say, you can do that in different ways. You could just do the grid, the final, and then a piece of packaging. You could do the final logo, and you could do 2 applications for it. You could do... so you can basically you've got to make sure you get your one piece of content, which is the logo, or the photo, or the quote, or your drawing, or something completely different, like you've made a chair or something, and you have to make sure you can turn that content into a couple of different things, which ultimately will save you time as well. Because by breaking your post down into form a story of how you've made it and how you've gone about your process, you will improve your brand identity, and you will improve the way your audience interacts with you, because they will see exactly how you're creating something. Which is, in my opinion, the best way to grow a following, by bringing them along for the journey, bringing your audience along for the journey. Excellent. I hope that answers your question, Mickey. If anyone else has any questions about social media and graphic design, keep them coming in. We've got another half an hour of this, and I'm really excited. So I'm really pumped to keep just going on and going on. Okay, next thing, hashtags. Instagram gives you about 30 free words to advertise yourself on their platform. Anyone can search those words, and you'll either appear in the top 9 or you will appear in the next set, and it's all chronological then. If someone searches for C Fowler Design, you'll see my most recent top 9 posts, and you'll also see every single one of my posts in a chronological order. And that's really cool, because what that means is that if you use a certain hashtag, so for instance, yesterday I posted the fish food sketch and I used hashtag seafood or hashtag restaurant because it's a restaurant logo. So I'm not just using hashtags to target the graphic design community, using things such as logo inspirations or sketch or illustration or minimal design, for instance. I'm not just using those. I'm also using hashtags and words that target the audience that might like that content outside of the design community. So you're also targeting them. So using hashtags such as, for instance, you make a bicycle logo, putting in things to do with the Tour de France, for instance, or Tour de France teams, or your local bike shop, or something like that, would be really effective in putting your work in front of those people looking for it. Hashtags are also really great because they are timeless content, so you don't, just because your post disappears from people's feeds, if they go to a hashtag and you have a hashtag that's just your name, for instance, so for instance, I use C Fowler Design on every single one of my posts, and if someone taps that or searches my name under the tags, every single one of my posts comes up. Which, again, builds brand familiarity because they can find all of your posts under one place without even having to go to your profile. The difficult thing with hashtags is having to tailor them. Having to tailor them to find that audience, to find the niche that you fit into, whilst also pushing your content ever so slightly into other groups to try and basically put your hook out and try and say, hey, I've got this awesome stuff. Why don't you hang on and come back to my profile and look at all the other amazing content I've put out. Finding those hashtags is one of the hardest things and something that I spent a very, very long time looking into. As I said, I think 30 to 40% of my time at the moment is spent doing social media work, whether that's buffering tweets and Facebook posts, or doing the podcast like this, or going to Instagram and engaging with people. It's quite a lot of work, and you have to be prepared to do that. You can't just expect everybody to come to you without putting some kind of effort in. So with hashtags, originally I started a year and a half, 2 years ago. I just basically put in what I thought would work, and that's a great place to start. So putting in things like design, graphic design, logos, vector, icon, symbol, all of these things specifically for logo designers is a good place to start. But eventually you'll find that it's not actually reaching the right areas and the right demographics that you want it to. So I'm going to tell you a little story in a second about the kind of the big cock up I made with Instagram hashtags. So basically this time last year, I was, as I often do, trying to improve the reach of my account and the reach of my account and the engagement I get by altering the hashtags I put on my posts. By altering the hashtags I put on my post, you potentially reach new people and you also engage with a different audience. This is only one of the ways to build your account. Do not think that just by putting in 10 more hashtags, you're actually going to make any difference, because you could just be stabbing in the dark. You might not actually achieve anything. So it's like putting a logo design under the selfie hashtag. Yes, selfie is probably the most popular, or one of the most popular hashtags on the platform on Instagram, but putting it alongside your logo doesn't actually help you in any way, because the people looking for selfies are not looking for your little tiger logo, they're looking for faces of people. So you have to tailor your hashtags to your personal community, or your personal community, the community you want to get involved with, and also your personal work. So the muck-up that I made last year, basically I was researching people's hashtags that other people in the scene in the UK use, and I was looking at what they do. Because the best way to kind of learn is to see what everyone else is doing and kind of adapt what you're doing and take influence and information in from them as well. Basically to learn from people who are more successful than you, what are they doing that you're not. So what I did, I pulled together maybe 10 or 15 sets of hashtags, had them saved in my notes on my phone, and basically what happened was that I forgot to copy over the new hashtags that I had made, the new set I had made, and so I just pasted in a set of hashtags and posted it. Turns out that I'd copied exactly someone's set of hashtags down, not even rearranging it, just by complete accident. I'd pasted in someone else's set of hashtags, and they were using very specific things to target their niche. And of course, they saw it and they sent me a message and went, What are you doing? Why have you copied my exact things? Like these aren't relevant to your interests at all. And I was like, oh shit. Oops. Yeah. So that was a complete muck up. And ultimately, the hashtags that I'd used by accident didn't actually get me anywhere. They didn't improve anything. So there's no point in basically what the moral of the story is there's no point even accidentally copying someone's set of hashtags. Absolutely no point, because what they have tailored their hashtags, if they're doing it properly, to their content. And so by tying those two together, you end up reaching a bigger and better audience. But yeah, that was my muck up a year ago. By complete accident, which I felt horrendous at the time for, but you just kind of have to learn from it. And so what I did was I went back and I went, right, of the hashtags that I've accidentally pasted in completely, what of this can I take away is actually good content? And so since the beginning of 2017, so, well, probably from February, so probably the last 6 months, I've paid close attention to which resharing accounts are growing, which resharing, God, that's really hard to say, which resharing accounts are engaging with their audiences, are posting content that is similar to what I create or I'm inspired by, and I'm trying to engage with those accounts, and if they like your work, they might repost you. So we're talking about accounts and hashtags such as Logo New and Logo Inspirations, both of which I'm sure you've seen, that the two of the bigger and biggest design and logo posting accounts on Instagram, which is excellent. That's a great way to showcase your work, but you can't pitch your work every single day to them and expect a response every single day. So although putting in a hashtag for Logo Inspirations and Logo New is excellent, just on the off chance, you can't just put those in and expect that you're going to get a repost. You need to also be doing other things in the community and also fixing your hashtags. Now, with hashtags, you need to making sure they're tailored. So I'm going to go through, and I hope you please, I'm going to, in a second, if he'll let me, I'm going to go through a specific person's account and kind of use them as an example as to what I think could be improved. I believe you're watching, JR. If you don't mind, I would like to go through your last post and try and suggest some improvements that could potentially help you and also everybody else watching. If you just want to leave me a comment in the chat to let me know if that'd be cool. If it is, I will get on doing that. In the meantime, while we're waiting for him to reply, making sure that you use all of the available space for hashtags is definitely key as well. If you just put in 6, you're immediately limiting yourself and limiting your content from reaching people. Now, a lot of people I know who are starting out on Instagram are just they don't like the idea of putting in a million hashtags. They see it in people's posts where someone's using every other, we've all got that friend who uses every other word as a hashtag, and it becomes extremely annoying, and it becomes really horrendous to look at in a post, and you just ignore it. So most people will put in like 2 or 3, which means that you don't reach the amount of you don't have the reach that you would have. You're missing out by tenfold, basically, potentially. So we're going to dive in now to JR's account, and we're going to have a quick look, and I'm going to spend a few minutes doing this. We've got another 20 minutes of the podcast. If you've got any more questions, please put them into the chat now. Hello, 20 people watching on Instagram and YouTube. If you are interested in learning more about social media, feel free to leave a question now or DM me after the show. You can always find the show on YouTube by searching the Fowler Hour. I am working on getting it on iTunes right now. It takes I think it takes 10 days to be reviewed. So when it's in the process and I've edited it all down, I will let you know. I'll let you guys know when it's live. If you don't already, and this is the first time you're seeing my account, hi, I'm Connor. I'm a freelance graphic designer. You can tap on my name. I believe it's somewhere up there potentially on Instagram, and you can go and check out my profile and the logos that I make. This is a weekly podcast I do. There are specific topics each week. And you can check out that's it really, I think. Anyway, right, next thing. So we're going to talk about JR's account specifically. So he messaged me earlier in the week kind of asking for some advice on how he can reach new people. Because he feels that, and I would agree, that the work he's putting out is of a very high caliber content, but he's not getting the reach he needs. Now, I don't know specifically when JR set up his account. I'm sure I could find it if I scroll back far enough, but I'm not going to do that right now. So we're going to basically look at his latest post, which is, I'll leave his, what's his account? jr.ingram, which is INGRAM. So you can go and check him out. This is the person I'm talking about right now. So his latest post is a lovely little logo, sat on a walled background that's been, I believe, quite nicely edited. And basically he uses a certain type of post called Tiny Ass Logos, which is going to be a bit of a promotion before I slate him, which is definitely a completely different style that I've seen on Instagram. It's quite unique. His content's always very high quality, but for the amount of followers he's got, his engagement's not very high. So we're looking at 860 followers as of the time I'm talking about this. But in 15 hours, we're looking at we're looking at 70 likes, basically, which is less than 10%. Which, if you're looking at my posts as well, having 9,000 followers, it does drop off very quickly. But there is not a single comment as well. So basically, JR came to me asking how can I advise him with his hashtags and the way he posts to reach and engage with new people. Now, my main suggestion for him, looking firstly at his hashtags, I am pretty sure, I don't know whether this post is related to this at all, but the second hashtag he's used is hashtag GOT. Now, that's a Game of Thrones hashtag if I'm not wrong, which, unless you're making it really obvious that it's a Game of Thrones themed bit of fan art, which it doesn't look like it is a waste of a hashtag. You're better off putting something in there that says something more about what you've done. So, putting in something about the background or the shape of the logo that you put out would have been a better option. Secondly, basically what we've got in the next bit that I'd like to talk about with hashtags, he's using all of them. He's using all the space, which is really good. You're using all of the available hashtags that he has, well, all the available hashtag slots, which is a really good thing. It means that even if they're not directly aiming at the right target or the right audience, they are at least doing something, which is better than not having them at all. Now, some of the things I can see in here are excellent. We've got things that matches style, logo, architecture, because it's on a brick, the design is printed onto a brick wall. Logo inspiration, that should have probably have an S on the end, JR. graphic design, graphic gang, which is a reposting account, design, typography. Again, typography and things like that, yes, they're great for graphic design and people finding graphic design stuff, but unless you're using typography, people will overlook it. They're not there to see a little icon, they're there to see typography. So there's little things like this, basically, that you need to take into account with your own account and your own posts. You need to make sure that your hashtags largely represent what you post. So, for instance, with this post, I would use logos, logo, icon, symbol, minimal, miniature, because it's very small, using things like logo inspirations and logo new, or logo lemon, or design inspiration. There are lots of reposters out there whose hashtags you need to use if you want them to see it, and also using things such as minimal, minimalism, and also basically what your design is facing. So what topic it is. So for mine recently, it's been campfire, summer camp, seafood, restaurant. So you're mixing in the last few hashtags as well as the design ones. Now, again, putting things like VS Go cam in and VS Co hashtags in on a post that may have been edited with that software is fine if you're posting kind of content that reflects that platform, which is often selfies or kind of model-like posts. But there's no point putting it in for your logo design post, because that hashtag could be used for something completely different and that works better for your audience. So I'm going to go to my post. You can all go and see what hashtags I use right now, if you want to. I'd suggest tailoring them to yourself, not directly copying what I put, because A, it's a bit uncool, but often what I use is very specific to the targets I'm trying to hit. So for instance, I use hashtag logo designer UK, which is good for me, because if someone puts logo designer UK into the Instagram search, which people do, I come up. But if I if you're from the US, for instance, and you put logo designer UK, unless you're specifically wanting to get that audience and work with people from the UK, which seems a bit silly, there's no point in you using that. And so if you go to my profile when we finish watching this and have a look at the icons, the hashtags I've put in there, most of them are related to resharing accounts who have a lot of people coming through and following and looking at their posts, and also things that relate to the post I'm putting out. So logos, vector, Dribble, because I post my designs on Dribble, design, minimal, symbol, yeah, logo instead of logos as well, logo grid, etc. Now, tailoring your hashtag to that is excellent, puts you in front of a new audience if you don't already use hashtags, and also means that people will see that you are actually bothering to try and show them content that fits with what they're looking for. So I'm going to leave hashtags alone for now, because basically the homework for you guys, if you want to get involved with this, is to go and gather in, look at other people's hashtags that they use, gather them into a pile, and investigate what could be done to improve your current set. You might be taking out 2 or 3, you might be rewriting all of them. Whatever you want to do is probably a good step. You just need to actually pay attention and take the time to do it. And it takes a long time. Literally, I spent a week making hashtag sets, which seems crazy to spend that much time on it, but it works if you put the time and the effort into it. So the last 10 minutes of the show, what I want to talk about is ways to build an engaged audience. Take another drink. Oh yeah, and JR, I hope at least some of that was helpful. I'm more than happy to speak to you on a one-to-one if you want to have a chat about anything I've spoken about. And yeah, I hope you find that helpful. So, for the last 10 minutes or so, I'd like to talk about building an engaged Instagram audience. So I'm just going to go to my last post, and we're going to have a look at kind of the last 3 posts that I put out, the engagement that I've got on those. So, currently, in 4 hours, we've had 10 comments on my last post, which 10 comments doesn't seem like a lot in 4 hours, and when 400 people have liked the post, but I guess. But with the engaged audience, what's better to have is better to have 10 comments than no comments. And I really enjoy also the process of seeing people's feedback and seeing people's critique on what I create. So it's kind of a win-win for me. I get the boosted rank in the algorithm from people commenting, and I also get to interact with the audience that follows my account. Now, the reason I mentioned that getting comments gets you a higher rank in the algorithm is because it does. So basically, if someone comments on your photo, that design is more likely to appear in their followers' explore feed. Now, you've got to bear with me. There's going to be quite a few terms in here that are going to go kind of in circles and sound like they're going round and round and round. Basically, me, for instance, if I share a post, well, let's rephrase it from my perspective. So, if I went to JR's account, commented on one of his photos are more likely to appear in my followers' feeds, in their explore feed and their discover feed, than if I just liked the photo. Now, that's because by being engaged with the post and leaving a comment about it, it shows that you're not just scrolling through and double tapping every single post. You're actually taking the time to review and look at the post and go from there. So by commenting on a post, that puts you higher in the algorithm. Or if someone comments on your post, it puts you higher in the algorithm to be discovered by new accounts. So going back to the second post that I put out, of a little tiny sketch that I did put out on a Tuesday, which doesn't tend to be a great day, 1,000 likes and 22 comments. Now, 22 comments is amazing, because 22 comments, I don't think Instagram releases the exact maths, and I don't think anyone's done an exact study on it, but having 22 comments rather than just 1,000 likes is far, far, far better than just having 1,000 likes, because it means that you appear in other people's explore feeds. And by appearing in people's explore feeds, they come to your account. If they like the content, which they more than likely will, because they're following someone who likes your content, so it becomes a chain. So it becomes you, the people who follow you, and then the people who follow them. You've got to bear with me. It might be easy to draw this as a diagram, but by people commenting on your posts, you appear in their feeds. Then secondly, to build an engaged audience as well, you have to interact with them as well. So if they leave a comment, I like to go through in the morning, kind of when I'm getting up or after I've been out on my bicycle for an hour, and just coming back in, sitting for 10 minutes and replying to as many comments as I can. At least liking them. And again, by building that interaction, you show that you're a human being, you're not just a robot posting designs. You're actually interested in these other people who are following your account. You welcome their thoughts and their opinions, which builds your brand. It makes you become more human. You become more personified and kind of a nicer account and person to interact with, which is kind of what we all want and need, I think. We all kind of want to feel noticed by the accounts we follow, regardless on what level. It's really nice to look at your feed and go, oh, this person responded to my comment. They actually took the time out of their day to engage with what I'd put. So not only does it build, if people like and comment on your posts, not only does it build your reach out to new accounts and new people, it also, by you going into other people's and replying to them, it builds up your connection and your bond with your audience, which is just as important as the quality of the content that you post. So that is commenting. Now, something I like to do every single day that I can, I will go and spend a bit of time going through certain hashtags and liking and commenting on new content that I like. Because A, it helps me get inspiration for new posts and new ideas, and also I'm engaging with new people who may follow you back, who may not. But on that small level, on that little kind of macro level, it makes a big difference overall. So, the next thing I want to talk about is how engagement ranks. and what posts do better. So, obviously, you're all the people watching now on the live feed, whether you're on YouTube, but majoritively on Instagram. If you're watching the live feed right now, I am more than likely, if you go back, please don't, if you go back, you can see the fact I am live at the top of the stories feed. Now, by being live, I stay there until I close the live feed. But also my story feed, which is kind of like Snapchat story, kind of stole an idea from them, that every time I post something new, my account comes to the top. So by doing that on a consistent basis, I try and do it 2 to 4 times a day at least, I appear at the top of people's feeds. And because of that, what that ends up meaning is that people who are new to my account, or people who haven't looked at my stuff in a while, can go back to it and have a look at basically all of the content that I've put out recently, which is really good because it means you are constantly engaging with them even if you don't mean to. So you're posting a story video which some people, 100 people might see it in the first hour, but someone who doesn't check their phone all the time, or maybe they check it once every day on Instagram, you'll appear at the top and they'll go, oh, that person might have something new. We'll go and look at it and go and engage with it. And repeated engagement, and the more times people visit your profile, the more likely you are to appear in other people's explore feeds. So you can see the pattern here by basically you put out more content and better content and engage with your audience by kind of trickling down and kind of the butterfly effect, more people will see it. So which comes back round, I'm going to end the live stream in a moment, but we just want to recap all of these things. The tips that I can give you today for improving your Instagram feed, improving your engagement is one, be consistent with what you post. Don't mix it up. Don't post, if you're going to post design things, post design things. Don't put a dog photo in there just because you think it will do well. Be consistent with what you post so your audience knows you're going to be posting a certain type of thing. Be consistent with when you post. Now that can be once a week, 3 times a week, every single day. I'd suggest every single day. But if you can't do that, be consistent with it. Pick certain days of the week, post certain content. Try and show a story, working from sketches or, for instance, your journey. So, for instance, if you're posting your content for the day, I woke up, I ate some cereal. Well, I ate some cereal, I drove to work, I'm at work. That's 3 posts, if that's your content. Show a story, show development. Number 4, engage with your audience. Whether that's commenting on other people's posts, seeking out new accounts, replying to comments on your posts, and also posting content regularly on your story feed or doing live streams like this. It encourages your content to be shown to other people because of the algorithm, because of the way Instagram's algorithm works. And they're kind of the four tips that I can give you. Obviously, the 5th tip is you have to work it. You can't just do this once a week and then just kind of go, oh, I don't know why I'm not getting any followers. It's because you're not putting enough work in. You've got to make sure that you take the time. Oh, excuse me, we've got 6 things. What am I talking about? Consistency of post, consistency of day and time, hashtags, and keeping your story feed and engaging with your audience. So 4 things, 5 things, number of things. I'm sure someone can work it out for me, or I'll edit it in later. But they're my top tips. You have to also do it. You also have to put the effort in. And I'm going to keep repeating this on almost every show that we do. I haven't grown my account as much as I have in the last 2 months by kind of just sitting around and posting every so often. You have to put in the effort to see an improvement. And it takes a long time. I've been doing this for 2 years. I have almost 10,000 followers. So you have to put in the time and the effort. And it is worth it. I can promise you that. So I'm going to wrap the show here. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. If you've got any questions for next week's show or any topic suggestions about what you'd like me to talk about next, please send them to me on Twitter using hashtag Fowler Hour. I will be checking out all of your posts there. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in on Instagram and YouTube. Again, if you want to listen to a higher quality feed and video, head on over to my YouTube channel. You can find me under Connor Fowler, or you can search The Fowler Hour. And that's it. I hope you've all enjoyed the show and you've all had a great time. Again, I have been Connor Fowler, and this is The Fowler Hour, Episode 2. I will be back next week, same time, 8 PM UK. That is, what's that? Like 3 or 4 PM Eastern and midday Pacific. So yeah, I hope you guys have had a lovely time chatting with me and listening to me rant on about social media. I will see you guys next week. Right. Does anyone have any quick questions before the live stream ends? Because I have ended it